Hi, what's up YouTube? My name is Jason and this is my take, and it's been a while, hasn't it? I'm back. I'm back for the year. I'm actually gonna put out videos. Needed a little break, just take some time to myself, get refreshed, get my head right, but I'm back and hope all is well. Now, while I've been gone for a little while, still gotten a lot of comments or just messages from people on the channel just engaging with the videos. Really appreciate that. But I figure why not start off, my little comeback with all the albums that I've thoroughly enjoyed this year in 2023. Now I got about 15, 16 albums on here across multiple genres. And once again, it's been a cool year. I think maybe this year hasn't been as explosive as the others, mainly in the hip hop department. But maybe we'll get into that in another video another time. But the albums on this list are the albums that I find myself returning to the most. Albums that conceptually, sonically are amazing at the least. And if you haven't heard of any of these albums, I hope that maybe I can put you on to some really good music. So let's dive right into it. First, we got to start with the new Lil Yachty album. Let's start here. Lil Yachty has made a transition into the more rock alternative scene with this new album, and as that can be a risky thing, he executed this album very well. Now, while I'm not the biggest fan of how he kind of talked about it and his reasoning and straying away from hip-hop a little bit, it made for a great album. Elements of like psychedelic rock, alternative pop on here, very great instrumentals on here. Yachty is using, his vocals in a way that we've heard before on the rap side, but it didn't come off playful and kid-like like it did before. He had great features from people like Justine Skye, Tizo Touchdown on here. The transitions from song to song on here I really enjoyed. I definitely think that there's room for growth for Yachty if he's gonna stay in this space, and I think that with that will come more amazing projects from him. He's not a guy that I usually think of when I think of amazing albums as a whole, so this is definitely a change of pace and one that I could get behind. Next, we got the new Oddisee album, To What End. Oddisee is a underground rapper out of Brooklyn who has been making music for years. He's both a rapper and a producer, instrumentalist. He always has great production behind his music, very much more on the live instrumentation side. His album, The Iceberg, was one of my favorites from last decade, so it's good to see him back with the new record. This album is smooth, it's soulful, it's got a little bit of bounce to it. We see Oddisee coming through with these confident bars like he usually does, just about life, about success. And on this album, it seems like he's coming more from the angle of the success that he has and staying with that and staying true to himself without having to compromise that to be bigger, I guess. Because when I listen to Oddisee, like, he really sounds like somebody that would maybe be in the mainstream with just how clean his sound is and his vocals and his delivery, but he's not. And I think that he realizes how comfortable he is in his lane with his core. And I like that. I like that approach. I like that perspective of still just staying true to you and what you know, and not giving up pieces of yourself. All the features on here did the thing. Fonte showed up on here, Bilal showed up, and that was really cool. So I definitely would give this album a try. Next on the list is the new Kelela album, Raven. Finally, after 6, 7 years maybe, we get a new album from R&B artist Kelela, and her style is more on the alternative R&B side, elements alternative pop on here. There's a little bit of like house on here as well that I really enjoy. The cover over here really gives you kind of a feel of what you're getting into. Like, this album feels like she's just laying out in like the river, like the ocean, just like by herself, just in this like endless like emptiness. This album is just very atmospheric, it's very spacey. Like it just has like a really nice feel to it that I think you guys would enjoy if you're into that type of sound. While I personally enjoy her last album a little bit more than this one, this is definitely a great comeback. It's been more than 5 years since we've gotten another one from her, so I hope we don't have to wait that long again. Next is the new Liv album, Girl in the Half Pearl. Now, if you like the last album I mentioned, Kelela's Raven. I would highly suggest you give this album a try. Liv is a R&B artist who, honestly, of all the albums that I listened to, she probably was a feature on like 3 or 4 of them. I just kept seeing her name on different projects that I listened to, and it made me want to dive into her and what she had going on. There are artists who come out with projects and it's very much like a variety of sounds that they're going for, and that could be risky. That could not work. This is an album where it didn't work, but I feel like Liv did it very much in a great way. And just like Kelela's album, like I mentioned, you just get this variety of smooth R&B, pop, house, alternative. It's a lot going on, but I think the way that she put it all together, it didn't feel like it was just so all over the place and so chaotic, which I really appreciate. Wild Animals is still probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite song on the album. But if you're into more like a Ari Lennox, Summer Walker, more like, you know, normal, like traditional, like type of R&B in this day and age, I don't know if you would like this album, but I definitely would suggest you give it a try. Next is the new Kali Uchis album, Red Moon and Venus. Didn't realize it, but I actually have on a Kali Uchis shirt when her and Georgia Smith went on tour. I didn't even realize that until now. But Kali Uchis comes through with another record. If there's one thing I can count on, is Kali Uchis not disappointing me with the new release. Vocally, this is one of her best records, honestly. The layering and the harmonies, how she just like layers her vocals on all of these songs is just beautiful. You get features from her boyfriend Don Tolliver on here, Mark Paulo, as well as Summer Walker. We get a few songs in Spanish as well that I thoroughly enjoy. 2 of my favorites on here, and just out the gate, Kali just came out just killing. I think Love Between is probably my favorite on here. Next on the list is a new Jordan Ward album, Forward. Of all the albums on here, this one is probably #1. Like, this is probably my favorite album so far this year. I came across Jordan Ward maybe a year or 2 ago, I can't remember. But right away, just the uniqueness of his voice drew me in. So getting into this album here, top to bottom, this thing is amazing. I think the vulnerability in his lyrics and what he talks about really stuck out. You get very poppy songs like Fam Jam 4000, which is probably my favorite song on here, to more smoother songs like a 311 or the title track Forward. There were just moments that really stuck out to me. Like, a big one was just like lyrically on the title track, him talking about his success and how once he started to blow up and get his success, it didn't feel like he thought it would, because at the same time, like, his family and friends, like, all of them were like going through like job loss, layoffs, and different things. And I kind of like how he dove into like how success doesn't feel as good if those who you love aren't, you know, celebrating or like in that moment with you, wanting to have others feel what you feel. I really thought that was cool. But yeah, the 12 songs on here were amazing. There were 2 other bonus tracks. The one with Joyce Rice that was really cool and more bouncy. You guys should definitely give this album a try if you haven't heard of this. Next is the new JPEGMAFIA Danny Brown album, Scaring the Hoes. I don't know if I should bleep that out. It's the title of the album. I think we'll be fine. But you get 2 heavy hitters, in my opinion, in the more abstract hip hop world, and JPEGMAFIA and Danny Brown. An album that's been teased for quite some time. This is one of my most anticipated albums of the year, and they gave me everything I wanted. Everything I wanted in this album. JPEGMAFIA takes over the production, which is already a plus. That's already a win. And you have both of these guys just going back and forth over these just chaotic, like, just, I don't even know how to describe JPEGMAFIA's production. It's just very abstract. It's very chaotic. Like, it's just not traditional. You just get, sometimes you hear sounds that just, like, it doesn't sound right in your ears, but you just go with it. Like, it's just JPEG style. Even Danny Brown, like, vocally, like, his mixing or what was going on with his voice, it was probably intentional, but it was throughout the whole album, And I think that they were really going for that title. Like, this is music you just don't play when you have girls around. Like, you just don't, unless they like JPEGMAFIA and Danny Brown. Like, they really hit on that point, and I really enjoyed that. Lean Beef Patty, Orange Juice Jones, Kingdom Hearts, those are some of my favorites. But I would be curious to know what like somebody who's new to JPEGMAFIA or Danny Brown like would think of this album if they heard it. It's definitely out there. It's not for everybody. Next on the list is the new Navy Blue album, Ways of Knowing. Now, while Jordan Ward's Forward is probably my favorite album on this list, on the hip hop side, this album is probably my favorite. I've been on Navy Blue for maybe about 3 or 4 years now. Songs of Sage was probably my introduction, which is still probably my favorite album up to this point. It might be this one. They're probably fighting for it at this point. But what I've always loved about Navy Blue is just like his introspection. He has a very monotone delivery, but to me, it just like packs so much with it. And on this album in particular, you know, him going into things like love and his mental health, just the world around him, and how he feels. Like, I feel like I really relate to him just in a lot of the things that he talks about and just his assessment of things just going on around him. One thing that I really enjoyed on this album too is just like how he talked about self-improvement, just continuously wanting to be a better person and learning. And Navy Blue on this one, he does a lot more singing than I've heard him do on other projects, but it was really good. Liv, who I mentioned before, her album Girl and Half Pearl, she pops up on this album on this very jazzy song called Embers that was really good. This guy Budgie that was on the song, he was amazing. There's not a skip on here on these 13 tracks. I would definitely give this a try. Navy Blue always continues to impress me, so I'm definitely looking forward to what's next. And this was also his like major label debut, which I didn't even know he was signed like until now, but like congrats to him, that's like really huge. Next, I gotta mention the new Larry June and the Alchemist album, The Great Escape. I always look forward to seeing what rapper Alchemist is gonna team up with next and just going on a full album. And Larry June is an artist that you just, like, it had to happen. You know, like, these two were made for each other. I think Boldy James is probably still my favorite rapper that teams up with Alchemist, but Larry June and Alchemist were a match made in heaven. Some of the most smooth, like, luxurious beats, and you have Larry June talking about what Larry June talks about, from not worrying too much about things in life to sipping on some green juice or some iced coffee, you know. It's just Larry June, and he does it in the smoothest, most Larry June type of way. I love this project. All the features killed it. Wiz Khalifa, Action Bronson, Big Sean on the Palisades, Currency popped up on here, Boldy James. This had everything I would want out of an Alchemist produced project. One where Alchemist himself just like doesn't have to tailor a lot to the artist. Like, he can just be himself and just produce. And I know these two aren't done yet, so I'm definitely looking forward to what they do in the future. Next, we got the collaborative project between Pink Seafood and Ollie. I hope I didn't say that wrong, but their collective Be Kool-Aid dropped Leather Boulevard. Pink Seafood was a guy that I've really started to become a fan of, from his Gumbo album to his collaborative project with Fly Anakin, Fly Seafoods. That's probably my favorite that he's put out. This guy is definitely a mixed bag. He can give you some aggressive trap music, but then also just come on some smooth R&B or like boom bap. And on this album in particular, he teams up with the producer. Like I said, I think it's Ollie or Alwaley. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. To produce arguably the smoothest album on this entire list of albums that I have. You get R&B on here, you get some of the most like hard-hitting boom bap, a lot of features on here that are just amazing, talented singers, and Pink Seafood is just like riding every single beat on here that he's on. I would say like the only real gripe I had with this was that like maybe lyrically or like performance-wise, like I wanted maybe a little more out of Pink Seafood. Like, when he was rapping and like performing, he wasn't like doing a lot But I feel like when you hear just like sonically this album, it's like, do you need to like really rap so much and like do much on it? I could definitely understand the approach that he took on here. But it would have been interesting to hear if he would have like done more with the space that he had. Next on this list is a artist who I've tried out now for the first time. This is my introduction to this artist, but they're very popular. And that is the new Lana Del Rey album. Did you know there's a tunnel under Ocean Boulevard? I'm so glad I got that right on the first try. We all, even if we're not in the pop alternative like space, know who Lana Del Rey is. And I was recommended this album, and I might be a fan. I just might. It's very much a dense record. It's like an hour and 20. I'm still figuring this album out as a whole. But with the listens that I've given it, I think that I see what she's doing here, and it seems like she's in a little bit more of a different stage in her life. This album definitely feels mature, and even with memes or just different things I hear about Lana Del Rey, this wasn't, you know, what the music sounded like, you know, at the start with like a Born to Die, for example. But what I gathered from like listening to this album, it seems like Lana's, you know, has themes of like family and their importance, as well as like religion on here. And it seems like there's like this duality maybe between like a like more innocent, pure, like traditional woman or person versus having these like sexual desires and wanting to express them, even if it's in more toxic spaces or relationships that she dives into on here. But I think like the title track of this album maybe speaks more to what she was doing, in that when she's talking about the tunnel under Ocean Boulevard, it being talking about how it used to be so beautiful, so filled with life, versus now it being more abandoned and desolate and lonely. And I think maybe that's kind of her describing where she is, or feeling like that abandoned tunnel under Ocean Boulevard, which I thought was very cool, just how she used that and what she did on this album. Not a lot of features, but I really enjoyed John Baptiste on here, an artist who I've been meaning to get into. And then Father John Misty on here, one of my favorite songs, along with the Grants. That's a great opener to an album. But Lana, you might have a fan. I gotta check you out. I listened to some songs off of NFR, which I'm hearing is like recently one of her biggest, like most popular releases, and I enjoyed it. So I'm gonna tap in. Next on the list is the new Daniel Caesar album, Never Enough. Daniel Caesar returns after what basically seemed like him being canceled. And I think I understand why, but it seems like he's moved forward. He's accepted that, and he's just focused on the music. And I gotta say, this could maybe go toe to toe with Freudian. This is arguably his best work to date. Just like coming in with Ocho Rios, like this thing blends alternative and R&B beautifully. And Daniel Caesar just vocally just doing what he does best on here. I mentioned Ocho Rios, Valentina, Toronto 2014. Those are just the first 3 songs, and they're amazing. And then you got like Pain is Inevitable on here. Like this guy's really emotionally like letting it out. And I just love the vulnerability on here. We get him and Ty Dolla $ign together on a song. Like I didn't even know I needed that until now. So it's good to see Daniel Caesar back, like in the headlines for the right reasons, and hopefully that continues moving forward. Next is a new artist I discovered named Jim Legxacy with his album Homeless Pop Music. Well, the title isn't Homeless Pop Music. It's, look in the description box and you'll understand what I'm saying. The best way I can like just describe it is just like black boy pop music. Like it just felt like black boy joy and like pop music like setting. This thing is like 25 minutes. It's super short. But this guy is just like really dope Nigerian artist that just has a very beautiful voice, and like he has like a rendition of Candy Rain on here by Soul For Real. That was really cool. It's like one of those albums where it's like a radio like station type of deal like happening within the album that I thought was really cool as well. So I think you guys should definitely check this out. I found myself returning to this album a lot. Next, on the list is the new Billy Woods and Kenny Segal album, Maps. Now, my favorite Billy Woods album up to this point was probably him and Kenny Segal's first album together, Hiding Places, and it might now be Maps. 17 songs, not a single skip on here. Now, I must warn you all, if you're not into the more like very off-kilter, abstract hip-hop, this might not be for you. But if you like JPEGMAFIA, like that album with Danny Brown, you gotta like this. Like this album is so good. Like this and Navy Blue are probably fighting for that #1 like spot on the hip hop side of things. Billy Woods is like, if I could describe him, it's like off kilter, like spoken word. Like he's not trying to fit within the beat, within the lines, but it sounds right. And he just dives into so many different concepts. The pen game is just on another level. He's one of the greatest writers like I've heard in hip hop. And on this album, we see Billy kind of talking more about like traveling and like going on tour and like kind of dealing with things already, but now being in new places while experiencing it. It kind of felt like Paperboy in Atlanta. Like it felt like season 3, like him being in Europe and still like dealing with a lot of things mentally, his mom and different things, but he's growing as an artist. Like he's international now. And that's what this album kind of felt like in terms of what Billy Woods was talking about. And Kenny Segal once again comes through with these amazing beats. Like they're a perfect match. Like how I talked about Alchemist and Boldy James. Like Billy Woods and Kenny Segal, they haven't missed yet. They haven't dropped a bad song yet in these 2 albums that they've dropped. So I would definitely give this album a try. Next, I want to briefly mention the new KAYTRAMINE and Monae collab project, KAYTRAMINE. One of the albums of the summer. Like this is a summer album. You look at the cover, like you know what you're getting here. House and rap producer KAYTRAMINE, one of my favorites, teams up with Monae, and apparently they've been, planning this for like nearly a decade to do this project, and what a great collab it was. Monae, lyrically, vocally, just very, very expressive. It's a very bright album. Rebuke is probably still my favorite. That, Sauce Up, Forever with Pharrell. These are just beautiful, like fun records. And Monae, like, just continues to show his versatility. Like we can hear him over so many different sounds within the hip hop landscape, and he finds a way to execute. So I was very impressed, and I'm still bumping this album. And finally, this is such a long video. We have the new Janelle Monae album, The Age of Pleasure. Janelle Monae, what can they not do? This is an amazing album. Coming off of Dirty Computer, which was my favorite Janelle Monae project, they come through with an amazing body of work. Only 14 songs, like 30 minutes. It very much gave me Renaissance vibes in terms of just how this album came together. Song to song, the transitions are so perfect. Like you forget, like you don't realize that you're on like song 6 when you're listening to this thing, because you're thinking you're on the 2nd or 3rd song, the way that it just goes in from one song to another. And I love Janelle and how they were expressing themselves just in terms of pleasure and just not being afraid to hide who they are. Janelle, I think, really is like leading that charge in music with this. Just is never afraid to speak their mind, how they feel, being expressive with their body as well. I just love how they don't hold back on anything, and they don't care how people are gonna view them. So this was a very refreshing project by Janelle. I loved everything about it. And if you guys haven't given it a try, you definitely need to. And with that, we have my favorite albums of 2023 so far. Let me know what you guys think of this list. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were there any albums that I missed? Let's discuss in the comments. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another video from Jason's Take. I'm glad to be back. This is the only video I'll do this week, but I will be back and dropping a couple videos a week like I usually do. So it should be a fun rest of the year. Looking forward to what's next to come. But please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Jason. This is my take, and I'll see you next time.